Really?
Me? It's my daughter.
Let's see if anybody comes in. Let's see. Okay, so now I don't hear it at all. Or before, like right as I started it, it started making this. I was getting interference.
Let me see.
Are you in there? I have my IT person over here helping me, guys. Maybe he can figure out where the noise is coming from. Welcome back, Audrey. Can you hear me okay now? I don't know what the interference was.
Yeah.
I don't hear it now. But do you guys hear me okay?
Why is it saying waiting? That's 1 day ago. Let's go now. Let's try now.
Like, that was the old one. I need to delete that one.
No, that's right now.
Oh. Oh man, what has happened?
That's 1 day ago. Let's go now. Let's try now.
I'm
How about turn
quieter.
off that light? Try turn off the light.
No,
that's right now. That's 1 day ago.
I'm quieter.
Let's try now.
Okay.
That light. Try turn off the light. No, light didn't work.
No. I don't know where the feedback is coming from.
Yeah, still not working.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Blink once if you're buzzing. It just stopped. Sounds good now.
Okay, so what's the light? It was the light was the buzzing. So that light's not gonna work for me for when I go live here. Sounds good. Awesome, thanks, Audrey. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's just we're just gonna have to work with the lighting that we have now. So thanks to my IT person.
I'll be your light. I shine like a diamond. Bright like a diamond.
Okay, so welcome to my first live. Thanks, hon.
I'm leaving.
Wonder if I can turn my computer on and be okay. We'll see. Hopefully we don't get any feedback. You hear it?
Yeah, probably need to clean out.
Now it's working. Okay. I know he showed his face on YouTube. Now it's permanent.
Now we're going to delete it and start a new one.
We're not going to delete it. No, sir. We're not. Welcome in, everybody. We have a cool technique that we're going to do today. It is a technique that one of my customers actually kind of walked me through, and it was really cool. The outcome was really awesome. So we are going to work on that today. So let me know if you guys have any questions as we work through this together, and we'll see how this live goes. And if you are new here, don't forget to hit that like, follow, and subscribe button. We'll attempt to, our goal is to go live at least once a week. So if you give me a second, I'm working on my computer, try to get a screen a little bit bigger so I can see the comments just a little better. Let's see. I have my computer on, so if you guys can hear the fan going. That's what it is. But if it's too much of a bother, please let me know and I'll turn it off. Okay, so we're going to work on a tumbler. It's tooled leather, and I was like, where did I put it? Oh, thank you, Audie. I appreciate you. Okay, so I may need to angle you guys down unless you guys can see okay from there. Can you guys see okay there, or do I need to lower you just a little bit? So this is kind of sort of what we're going for, but in reverse. I will show you guys what I mean by that. So we're going to start with a stainless steel tumbler, and I will list all the items that I'm using in the description below after the live. I think I may have already have some on there, but starting with this, we're putting it on a handle because this is going to go on the turner, and we're just putting this insert in to kind of hold it better, because once we start working with it, we don't want to touch it. So starting off with just a stainless steel tumbler. Okay. The comments are covering up the cup. I wonder if I move it. Whoa. I don't know. Does that have me upside down? Okay, maybe I don't want to do that. Okay, so, okay, let me try to lower it. Is that better? My computer, I really need to clean it out. It sounds like it's really struggling. Yes, okay, good. All right, so you guys can see that okay? All right, so I have it on the stand. Some people call it the arm. Just what your preference is. Now, there is a little bit of debate on the stainless steel tumbler, whether you should sand it or not sand it before you start to work on it. I think that it all depends on what you're doing to it, and also where you purchased your tumbler. The companies usually put a coat over the stainless steel, which gives it that stainless steel look. However, it's really slick. Some of the materials that they use to coat the tumbler with may cause the paints, the epoxy, whatever it is that you're using, cause it to repel. So that's why some people sand their cup. And it's just, like I said, it's personal preference, if I can speak, on whether you want to sand it or not. Test it out, work with it, and see which one works better for you on what you're working with. This one, I'm not going to sand it. It's fine. Only because I've worked with it before from this company. I've made other cups with it and stuff, so it should be fine. So it's just something for you to test. That's okay, good. So the first step that we're going to do is we're going to apply a UV DTF to this. This is a 20 ounce. I do have one here. It's a full wrap, and it's gonna go on here like that. If you guys have questions about what a UV DTF is, let me know. I'll explain it a little better. And so with these wraps, you don't have to use the whole wrap. The design on this particular one, it's good that you can cut certain portions of it. So you can cut certain portions of it if you don't want to use the whole wrap. Like I said, you can cut it into pieces and place it random in different places, depending on your project, depending on the design that you're going for. So I'm going to do the whole tumbler, so I'm going to use the whole wrap. Now, the UV DTF has 3 layers. It has the backing, it has the design, which is an ink that is that has been treated, so it's pretty sticky, and then it has a backing to it. So those are the 3 layers of UV DTFs when you get the designs. Whether it's a small decal or a wrap, it's the same thing. So what I like to do is grab a weeding pen. If you don't have a weeding pen, you can use an X-Acto. You use an X-Acto knife. I need scissors. I was cleaning up my area before I went live, so that's why I don't have everything right in front of me. It's okay. So, Christine, welcome in, lady. How are you? Okay, so what I like to do is grab the backing, try to separate the backing from the tape, from the transfer tape, and pull back just a little bit, if I can see it. Try to separate it if I can get to it. It's hard to do this when your eyes are not that great and you're working with transparent. Let's try to grab it. Hey Jen, welcome in. Okay, so I have it separated. The one thing you do not want to do with UV DTFs is touch the design itself. So because once it sticks to something, it's gonna stick, and you don't want to move it around because the image, the design, it will crack, and you do not want that. So what I like to do is just pull back just a little bit. Can you guys see that okay? And so I'm going to trim just a little bit of it, about 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch, whatever you feel comfortable with. And then I'm going to put that back on the transfer tape and the UV DTF. Put it back on. I'll explain this here in a minute. So you want to, if you're doing a wrap, you want to place it where you want it. And this is a seamless design, so once I put it on there, it'll be okay. You won't be able to see where it begins and where it ends. And like I said, this is a 20 ounce tumbler. And so a lot of the tumblers kind of bevel at the bottom. They kind of curve at the end. So I don't want any of that UV DTF to go over that curve. So I like to measure it, and if it goes over on the top part, it's okay. I don't mind, because I'm going to trim that anyway. So place it down firmly, and once I figured out where I want the design exactly to be, I remove that backing that I just cut. And you press it onto your tumbler like so. And where is my squeegee? You can take a squeegee, you can take a credit card. You just want something flat to press against the UV DTF and your tumbler. You guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat, and I will get to the answers as soon as I can. Like I said, if you're new here, please remember to hit like, share, and subscribe. My goal is to go live once a week, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I will add all the items that I'm working with in the description box. If you're watching this on a replay, welcome. Okay, so now it's on there, and so I pulled back a little bit. I don't know if you can see here. So I'm pulling back on the backing of the UV DTF. So I pulled it back so it's flat on the tumbler here. So when I flip this over, as I'm pressing on the top part, the backing is going to pull out because it's rolling against it. And I'm going from the center out and the center out. You don't want to go from here or from here, because then it will crinkle. It will wrinkle your image, and it will cause the UV DTF to crack, and you don't want that. So we're pressing as we go, and the backing is being pulled as you press against the tumbler. Hope that makes sense. Now, right before I get to this end, I'm going to start peeling that transfer tape, because I don't want the UV DTF to overlap onto that transfer tape, because once you pull it, it will crack. So I have about ½ an inch here. So I don't want to continue, I don't want to finish pulling the backing just yet. I'm going to start back at the beginning again and start pulling that transfer tape off before I put the UV DTF down. Because like I said, once you lay that UV DTF, it will stick to whatever it is that you're putting it on. I hope you guys can see this okay. If for whatever reason you see that part of the UV DTF is coming back with the transfer tape, just lay it back down and press on it and rub on there. Should be fine. So you can see the transfer tape is being peeled off. The UV DTF is left behind. So now I can finish laying the remainder part of the UV DTF on there. There's the backing. You got that. You don't need that anymore. Pressing it down. Just applying it firmly on there so it does not peel back when you're peeling the transfer tape off. And you want to go slow because sometimes, not always, but sometimes that UV DTF, especially in little bitty small details, it likes to come back with the transfer tape. So all you have to do is go lay it back down and just press on it. You want to not pull straight up. You kind of want to pull it at an angle. Makes it easier, and you won't have any issues with the UV DTF trying to come back up. I like to roll my tape in itself so it's not sticking to me. All the way around. As you can see, a little bit is overlapping at the top. You can kind of see here, and it's fine. I just didn't want it to overlap in the curves here. Here's your tape, throw that away. You don't need that anymore. But there you go. There's your UV DTF all the way around the tooled leather. Now, we're gonna go through here that overlapped with the X-Acto knife and just cut those pieces off. You only need 50 to go live on here, man. Where is my X-Acto knife? I'm sorry, I thought I had everything in front of me. Let me grab that real quick. I'm not sure if it is. I'm not sure how the hearts work. Thank you. So now I'm just going to go through here and just trim what is overlapping. Be careful not to cut yourself. Sorry, I've got a little bit of sniffles and stuff. We went out to do some grocery shopping, and the weather's still kind of a little muggy here. Like I said, try not to cut yourself. All right. Now you have ideas. Yep, only 50. Only 50 subscribers. So if you guys are new here, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like, share, and subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on your notifications so anytime we go live or we post a video, you'll get it. You'll get notified. Okay, so if you guys have any ideas of what you want to see next, feel free to message me. Oh no, yeah, it's only 50. However, just note that when you do decide that you want to go live, YouTube has to go through like a approval process. So you hit that live button at least 24 hours before you go live. Otherwise, if you go live when you decide you want to go live, but I believe it's only one time, only the first time. So I think they kind of have to go through the review and make sure everything, that you meet all the criteria. So, but yes, so here it is. You're welcome. Okay, so now the next step, there's two ways we're going to cover this. And I know you're probably thinking, no, it's too pretty. I know, it is. It is beautiful just the way it is, but we're going to add some color to it. Now, there's two ways that we can do this. Made one successful short. That's awesome. I need to go see it and go watch it. So there's two ways that you can color it. Paint this. We're going to paint it black. And yes, this design is black, but just hold on and see what it's going to look like afterwards. So you can either spray paint this all black or whatever color it is that you're choosing, or you can use some acrylic paint to paint it. Now, a lot of us that live in the areas where it gets really, really cold outside, or it's snowing or rainy, the spray paint, if you ever use spray paint on some different weathers and temperatures, you're gonna know that that spray paint can be a little tricky, a little, I don't know. Do you guys mind if I sit for a minute? My feet are like curly. The paints can get a little finicky. You can get blotches. It's just the way the spray can works. So because it has been raining outside, it's been kind of, well, the snow's been melting outside, we are going to use the acrylic paint for this time. So thanks, Jen. I get tired. Okay, so we're going to paint this. Now, if you've worked with acrylic paint, you're going to know that the paint, when it dries and stuff, it can leave streaks. So what I like to do to kind of avoid or minimize, you can't totally avoid the streaks, you will get the streaks, but to minimize the being able to see all the streaks, the brush strokes, I kind of like going in every direction to avoid that. Now, if you guys are new here, you're going to be asking, why in the world did I put a black UV DTF and now I'm painting it all black? So the UV DTF is ultraviolet direct to film, I think it's what it's called. It's what UV DTF stands for. So there is a little bit of it's raised, so the ink that is left behind is it leaves obviously it makes it look a little 3D. So I will show you what I mean by that. Jen, you're so sweet. Okay, so I try to look a little presentable sometimes. Alright, so I will show you what I mean by a 3D. It's not really 3D, but it kind of is. So we're just painting the whole tumbler, the entire tumbler, making sure it has really good coverage and using the random brush strokes to kind of minimize the brush strokes once you go in there and use your pigment powders. Otherwise you're going to see it. And like I said, you can't avoid it 100%, but if you can do whatever you can to minimize it, why not? And all we're doing is just covering the stainless steel. A lot of the, if you're working with chameleon pigments, they have more of a powerful look, if you will, to it if you do it on a black base. It still looks beautiful on a white base. It just depends on what look you're going for. So test it out before you put it on your project. I like to send swatches to my customers with every order so they can kind of test it out before they put it on their project. Because there's something so frustrating that you go and spend so much money on products and then they don't look how you expect them to look. So testing them out is a great way to see what they look like. I hope I'm making sense here. Alright, so we have pretty good coverage. We're going to let it sit and dry for a few. It's acrylic paint, so it's not going to take too long for it to dry. But can you guys see the texture? Look at that texture. You can see it. And if you want to, if you're not as patient as you would like to be, you can put some heat to it without, but be careful with acrylic, because if you put too much heat, that paint will start to repel off the tumbler. What do you guys think? Like I said, you want to put it on the arm first before you start this process, because once you start this, you don't want to touch it. Okay. Where is my cup? I'll put my brush in water for a minute. I don't want it to dry up. Okay. Now, it's still kind of wet. You can take heat into it. Can you see that? So, the next step. There's two ways that you can do the next step. You can, depending on what you're going for. So there are 2 products, 2 glues that you can use for the next step. And let me tell you, we'll put this to the side to kind of explain what they are. So, Tack It Over and Over by Eileen's and stuff. This product has been around for a long time. I don't know how many years. I just know it's been around for a long time. Some people like to work with this. Some people don't. I think it all depends on their environment and what you're going for exactly. Tack It Over and Over Again is a little thicker. You can thin it out by adding water if you want, just a little bit at a time. Whatever it is that you prefer. There is a company called Wicked Shimmer Supply, and they have something similar, but it's a lot thinner to work with. So it's really a personal preference. They both do the same thing. It's what you want to work with. So I thought we should test it out. We should test both of them. Have half of the cup with the Wicked Stick-It and half cup with the Tack It Over Again. What do you guys think? I will have to find a way to mark it. Let me mark it. Just to see if there is a big difference. Because I know, like for me, before I found Wicked Shimmer Supply, I purchased like 10 of these because I know I was going to use them a lot. So I kind of use what I have first before I go on to a new one. But I've been using this a lot. So only because it's thinner, and for me it just makes it easier to work with. But we're going to test it out and compare and see if we get a different look. So we'll say this glue is called Wicked Thicket or Wicked Stick-It. There is also Wicked Thicket, which is a little bit thicker. I've not used it yet, but I would imagine it's more like the Tack It Over Again. So we're gonna label each side. So this side is gonna be Wicked Stick-It, and then the opposite side we're gonna use the Tack It. We'll use the Tack It method. All right. Like I said, we're just testing so we can compare to see if there's an actual difference in the look of your design. I don't think it will, but we're going to find out. Okay. So I will take some of this and add a little bit of water. Just a little bit goes a long way. Not much, just a squirt. And then we're going to add just a drop of water, maybe 2 or 3. To try to thin it out a little bit. And mix it really well. Like I said, I like to use what I have on hand first before I go and try different things. So it's kind of still a little thick. I don't want it too thin because then we have this. So we're going to test both of them out. Let me label them before. Actually, no, I'm going to leave it. No, I'm going to label it. I'm going to grab a marker. So we're gonna put T for tack it on the cup. So we know what's gonna go on there. And then we're gonna label this W for Wicked Stick It. We're gonna use 2 different brushes. So you guys can see the Wicked Stick It is kind of runny, and the Tack It is a lot slower. It's kind of hard to see on here, but you see it moving. Here it's moving, but not as fast. Okay, so let me grab 2 brushes. Alright, so this side says tack it, so we're going to use this side. There's still a little bit of wetness, you can see it here, so I'm going to go with I have a small heat gun down here. I'm going to apply a little bit of heat just to speed it up a little bit. Overheated because then the paint will start to repel. So it's pretty dry. There's like one tiny spot right there that's wet, but it'll dry. So we'll start with the opposite side. Now, while we work on this, I want you guys to think about what color we want to use. What pigment colors do we want to use? Do we want to use some chrome colors? Do we want to use some chameleon colors? Let's think about that. Alright, so we're going to go with Tack It on this side, and we'll use the Wicked on this side. So 2 different brushes to keep the different glues. Okay, so we're going to use Tack It on this side. And again, same directions, going all different directions. Now remember, we did add a little bit of water in here, so the paint might react to that water. Not too much. Do half of the bottom as well. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. If you're watching this as a replay, feel free to leave a message and we'll get to it as soon as we can. I try to check messages pretty often, so. Alright, so there is the tacket. Now we're going to use, put this over here. Oops. Now we're going to use we can stick it on the other side. And it's labeled right here. With a different brush. As you can see, it's super runny. If you want to work with something a little thicker, they do have Wicked Thicket. So if this is too runny for you. It's kind of running over here. I'm gonna move it away from that. That might be skewed. That little area may be skewed in the results. Okay. There it is. And it goes on white. But once the glue is dried, and I say dried because this type of glue doesn't necessarily get dry. The more it dries, the tackier it becomes. I'm using, so Wicked Shimmer Supply also has the same, a product that's called a Wicked Stopper, and it's perfect to save your brushes from the glue that you just used. So that way you're not getting rid of your brushes. You can reuse them over and over again. No, I am not an affiliate, so I'm using it on my own free will. Alright. That stuff actually saves your brushes big time. And I love the way it smells. It smells like eucalyptus to me. Some people say it smells like citrus, but to me it smells like eucalyptus, and I love that smell. Alright, so put that aside. Now we can, it's still pretty wet as you can see, so we're going to apply a little bit of heat to it to kind of speed up that process. I don't want to leave the heat in one area for too long. It's kind of all over the place. Move it around. This part is kind of a slower process here. You can either let it air dry or apply heat to it. For this video's sake, we're going to speed it up a little bit. Thank you guys for your patience during this process. Anybody working on a project today? You're doing a job. Good work. Welcome in, Teresa. You're welcome. Shouldn't work at all. Almost there. Almost there. The more you put on there, the more glue you put on there, the longer it's going to take for it to dry. So, there's one little area over here that's still has not dried completely. There's still one little spot there, so I don't want to put much more heat on this CAD because I don't want the glue to start repelling or the paint to start repelling. So we're going to leave it there and work on the outside of it before we work on the bottom. We're going to let that continue to dry on its own. So have you guys thought about what colors we're going to use? We've got some chameleon colors. We've got some chrome colors. We have holographic. We've got pearls. What do you guys think? You're hiding in your craft room. Pink and green. Okay. we have, so I'm going to show you guys the cards. On my pigments, I like to create cards. I will show you guys what I mean by that. So I have these cards here. They look like gift tags because, of course, you know, Siete Gift Shop, we got gift cards. So I like to create these, and I paint half of it black and half of it white, so that way you can see, and then I apply the same pigment on the whole card, so you can see the differences depending on the base. So this is Courageous. It shifts from blue to purple, almost kind of like a teal color. So it just depends on the angle that you're looking at it. So you said pink and green. So these are Aurora colors. These two, so that's kind of a pink, that's called Ocho. And it shifts to kind of like a green color and purple and pink. Where Sweet Pea has a little bit of a shimmer, and it shifts from black to purple. So it just depends on the color. Thanks. You'll be rewatching. Okay, good. I will definitely save this video for you guys to watch later. I know you like Ocho. We can do Ocho. So I think a Morning Glory would be pretty with Ocho. Or Lucky Me. Lucky Me shifts from like blue to, I will show you. But this is Morning Glory. That one is pretty. I think these two would look pretty together. How about a third color? So you got green, blue. I was going to show you Lucky Me. So this is Lucky Me. As you can see, it's green, then kind of like the teal, and you kind of get a little bit, just a hint of purple, but not much. So if we did these three colors, I think, not Lucky Me. I think those two colors, let's pick one more. Maybe not Lucky Me. What about her shoes? Maybe her shoes. So her shoes incorporates that green, but I think it matches well with the pink and that blue. How about those three colors? Okay, so I have, so this is Morning Glory. Where's Ocho? So there's Ocho. It looks really pink on here. And then her shoes. Look at this. You can see the shifts on her shoes. Okay? So we're gonna go with those three colors. Let me get 3 brushes. I'm getting 3 different brushes because I don't want to cross-contaminate them as we go. Let me grab some over down here. All right, so let's start with a Morning Glory. You can kind of see that shift. And we're going to apply it kind of as streaks as we go. Look at that. Kind of in random places. On both sides because we want to test those glues. We're not doing anything with it yet. As you can see, they're kind of dried up. Okay. Just kind of putting it in random places. You can see that shift through there. Okay, so that is Morning Glory. And we're going to do Ocho. This is what Ocho looks like on a white base. Take a look at that. It looks totally pink. We're going to do the same thing here. Tap it in there and then just do streaks. Different areas. Now pigments are really light, so you will have fairies flying all over your space. That's how I like to look at it. Okay, look at that. That is Ocho right there. Super pretty. Okay. And then we're going to do her shoes. Her shoes is one of my favorites. That's what it looks like. We're going to do the remainder of the cup in that color, wherever it's black. I'm going to put it on there. There's her shoes. These pigments go a long way, so a little bit, like I said, a little bit goes a long way. So now it's on there for the most part. There's still a lot of loose pigments on here. So we're gonna go in here and start blending. Just like you do with makeup, we're gonna blend all of these pigment powders together. There's 2 ways you can do this. You can take, so I was using this end of the brush. You can take a bigger brush and just blend it all in there, or you can take a fiber cloth and then rub it all in. So that's what I'm going to do. It doesn't matter which way you do it. This kind of helps burnish all the pigments in. It blends it all together. You're not rubbing to scrub or anything. You're just kind of lightly going through with it with the cloth to get all that pigment into the glue that you just put on there. So there's all those colors. All right, you guys have any questions so far? Right. Now, if for some reason, so up here, there's still a little bit that I missed with the glue, you can always go back over it with some more glue. Follow that same process. Apply the glue, let it dry, and then you can add your colors to it. I'm not too worried about this, the top part of the cup, because I like to sand them down. So that part is going to be all silver anyway. So I'm not too worried about that side. But in the middle and the bottom, we've got really good coverage. So it's all blended in, all burnished in, and it looks pretty, right? But once you add the epoxy to it, it's going to come to life even more. So let me put these away. So that was her shoes. And we did a Morning Glory. And we did Ocho. Okay. So thank you. I know, right? Those colors are amazing. When you see them in person, they're just like, wow. They look beautiful on here, but once you see them in person, it's a totally different level. Okay, so now we are ready to, now some people like to, and this is again another personal preference, they like to apply a sealer to it. I don't when I'm just working just with pigments. I do it for when I'm working with glitter, yes, because you don't want that glitter to move, especially if you're using different colors of glitters. So if you're using just pigments, I don't seal it or anything like that. I just go ahead and apply the epoxy. Some people say, well, you know, the pigments are gonna move, they're gonna shift. If you burnished it in properly, they're not going to. They're not gonna move. They're on there. They're not coming off. If you burnish it properly onto that glue, regardless of whether you used tack it over and over again, or we could stick it, or anything else, any other kind of glue, it's on there. It's not coming off. So it's up to you whether you want to seal it or not. I don't, like I said, if it's just for, if I'm only using pigments, I don't need to seal it. It's just another step that I don't need. So when you're working with epoxy, always, always, always use gloves, mask, if you need. I've been working with this epoxy for a long time, over 2 years, so I'm not too worried about it. I know it's not affecting me like it does some people. What I like to recommend is, if you've never worked with epoxy before or haven't used a certain brand of epoxy, purchase the smaller bottles first. Because, okay, so I'm going to do, so for the first coat, I'm going to do 10 ml, so 5 of each, A and B. So I like to tell everyone to purchase smaller bottles of the epoxy. Work with that first, because the brand that I use in my space may work, it'll work for me, but it may not work for you. It depends on your environment. There's a lot of things to consider. Your environment, your allergies to any kind of epoxy, those things that you need to work with, and your work time, because there is regular epoxy, but there's also fast-paced epoxy, the fast curing epoxy. So that will cure on you a lot faster than regular epoxy. Today I'm using regular epoxy. Like I said, I will list all the items that I'm working with down in the description below. Usually, well, let me say this first. When you're working with the epoxy, follow the instructions on the bottle. There will be different mixing times for different brands of epoxy. Thanks, Jen. Can I buy it? Can I? The cup? So follow the instructions on the bottle. Each epoxy has different instructions on how long to mix, what your room temperature should be. And like I said, when you're first working with that brand of epoxy or epoxy period, you want to start with smaller bottles, because a lot of people have a sensitivity to it. And you want to see how you're going to react to it. Like I said, if this one works for me, I haven't had any issues, but there may be someone out there that may have a reaction to it, an allergic reaction to it. So safety first. Now this one, it takes 4 minutes to mix. And when it says 4 minutes, do the whole 4 minutes, because even if you stop at 30 seconds, 20 seconds before the time, your epoxy may not cure properly. You have to make sure that it is well mixed when you're working with AB solutions. So I think so far with our first live here, thank you for joining me, by the way. I kind of miss having the music. You know, sometimes music in the background kind of makes your time, especially when I'm here by myself out here, even though you guys are sitting there watching me and chit-chatting back and forth and commenting, which I appreciate dearly. It still feels like I'm talking to myself. It's okay. We'll get used to it, right? So do you guys have you worked with pigments before? Leave a comment down below. What colors do you like the most? What do you like about pigment powders? Do you like them or not? Some people don't like them. Some people prefer prefer only glitter. Some people prefer only pigments. some people work with pigments, and you haven't noticed the lack of music. Good. Some people work with vinyl and foils and all kinds of things. So what is your preference? We're down to 3 minutes. 1 more minute. I think we'll be good to go. So when you're done mixing, now it will look a little opaque, a little cloudy. That's okay. It's because it's mixed well. And when you're mixing like this, you get some air bubbles in there, but those will go away and it will become clear as it dries. So, and I'll show you what I mean in just a few minutes. Thanks for all the hearts. I'm not sure how the hearts work on here, but I do see them coming up. I appreciate you. Okay, it's been 4 minutes. Now, I'll show you. So, it's not totally clear. There's a lot of bubbles in there. So, we're going to set it aside for a minute while we get our turner. Now this turner is one that I use. I move it a lot from spaces depending on my space. So if you have a stationary one, that's ideal. However, if you have a single one and you move it from space to space like I do, I like to make sure that it's leveled, because if your cup, when you start to put the epoxy on it and your cup is tilted to one side, that epoxy is going to start moving to one side, and then you're going to have a big area of thicker epoxy and thinner over here, and vice versa on the other side. Yes, the tumbler, okay. I'll list it once it's ready. So what I like to do, I have this handy dandy leveler, and I like to place it on there. Now, you can kind of determine whether, if maybe it's not on there right, you can move it, shift it to make sure it is leveled really well. So it needs to be lifted up here. Like I said, this one is one that I move around a lot, so it's not going to. Ideally, you want it to be a stable station, but this is where we are. You gotta do what you gotta do. All right, so I'm gonna do it so it turns towards you. Oh, I was gonna show you. Okay, so now let's see. Okay, so this side is the Wicked Stick It area. Okay, and this side is the Tack It Over and Over Again. Can you tell the difference? Probably not. So, like I said, your preference, which one you want to use, it'll work. You're singing for me. I wish I could sing. Okay, so can you guys see it okay? Should I get it closer? Why is it doing that? It's like skipping. That's a magnetic arm. Oh, I see. There's some accumulated epoxy over here. So I'm trying to move that, take that off, because you don't want your tumbler to be jumping while it's turning. So try to keep your arm clean. Alright, let's see how that works now. Okay, much better. Alright, much better. It was jumping. It wanted to jump on me. That looks a little tilted. No, it's perfect. Okay. So, if you're using regular epoxy, you have a little bit more of a work time. If you're using fast set, it will start to cure on you within just a few minutes. So you want to work with it really fast. And how you know it's starting to cure is that the temperature, you'll notice the temperature, it'll get hot on you. I hope you guys can see this. Okay. But if not, I will bring it down, bring you guys down to show you as soon as I'm done applying the epoxy to it. So usually you want to use, you'll have multiple coats of epoxy. You will have your initial coat, which will be really thin coat. You will have your flooding coat, was what they call it, which is the thicker coat. And then on the second coat, because it'll be thicker and stuff, you may have some areas that you may have some bumps here and there and stuff, and that's okay. You can sand it down just a little bit. Let me get some of the bottom. You'll be able to sand it down to get a smooth coat, as smooth as possible. Now keep in mind, these items are handmade. They will have some imperfections, and the more you work on them, the better you'll get at them, but you will still have some imperfections here and there. But we always strive to do our best. Okay, so when you're putting your epoxy, I like to just put it on there and then let the turner turn, and then pour the epoxy on there to kind of help spread it out. Now once you've got it well covered, you want to go back and go up and down, and then the epoxy is self-leveling, so you won't see any streaks. Now if you only go this direction, you will have some clumping wherever your fingers or your knuckles are, so you want to go up and down to avoid any of that. And yes, you can still see the texture of the UV DTF, and I will show you, I'll bring you guys down so you can see. Do you guys have any questions so far? All right. That is on there really good. If you notice any bubbles, because I put in a really thin layer, I don't see bubbles at all. I might see them later, but right now I don't see anything at all. If you did, you can take a small torch, or I'll show you guys. You can take a small torch and kind of apply some heat. You don't want to apply heat directly at it because that will cause a super fast cure and it will cause some bubbles, and you cannot get rid of those bubbles no matter how much sanding you do. So you want to apply just light heat around it to get rid of any bubbles that you may see. Right now I don't see any, but I'll bring you guys down so you can see. You want to see? Are you ready? Make sure I don't touch it. Oh. Okay. Let me see if I can flip this. I don't see any bubbles. You can see the color shift, and you can see the UV DTF, the texture of the UV DTF. I don't see any bubbles. And can you tell the difference between where I applied the Tack It over and over again or the Wicked Stick It? You can see the color shifts. Okay. Put you back up here. Thanks, Andre. Oh no, I got it all in my shirts. It's a good thing I have Wicked Stopper. It'll work. Honestly, no, right? Okay, so it just depends. Hoping this will work. It's coming right off. Perfect. Nice. Wicked Stopper to the rescue. Okay, so, and now see, I don't see where I touched it with my shirt. It's self-leveling, so that's perfect. So, that's it. Yes, it worked just fine. It came right off. So we're going to allow this to set and turn for 8 hours, usually about 6 to 8 hours, where it will cure. You don't want to touch it anytime between now and then. Then you can apply a second coat, a thicker coat if you'd like. If there's any imperfections on it, you can sand it down and apply a third coat to it. You don't want too thick of epoxy because then the cup gets heavier and thicker and stuff, so it kind of makes it hard. Unless you have a handle, it'll make it hard to hold on to. You don't want that for the person that's receiving the cup, right? So, but yes, so let it cure, and then on the final coat, whether it's a second coat or a third coat, you want to wait at least 72 hours before anyone can use it. Now, in between, I like to sand just the rim before I apply the second coat and third coat. I kind of do, I sand it on the top part of the cup between epoxy coats. So, just so it has something to adhere to on the cup and you're not putting it to where someone's going to be using it to drink out of it. You don't want epoxy in those areas at all. So you want to clean it as you go. And then you want to wait at least 72 hours before you send it to a customer or give it away or use it yourself. So, anybody have any questions? I want to thank you guys for joining me on my first live here on YouTube, and looking forward to many more. I think I will try to do a schedule once a week. So if you guys have any ideas of what you want to see next, feel free to send me a message on here and I will try to read them. But yes, and then I will list everything down in the description for anybody who is watching this as a rerun, as we used to say, as a replay. Leave me a message and I will get back to you guys as soon as I can. We'll try, like I said, we'll try to go live once a week from this point forward. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and for joining me on my first live. Now, if I can figure out how to end a live. Yes, and I will list everything that I use down in the description below. Remember to hit that notification button so you guys know when we post a video or we're live again. So, I will see you guys around. Thank you. Have a blessed one.